All right. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Kingdom of the Kael Isles. Yes, this is my custom D&D game. It's been running for almost 3 years now. I think we're actually coming up on 3 years in the next week or two. So that's really impressive. 2 more years. Thank you, Winecraft, for hosting us. 2 more years, and we'll be going as long as Critical Role. So we can basically we can basically just say that we're the next Critical Role.
I wouldn't go that far.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, had a rough week, so my mind is kind of crazy right now. So if I go off topic more than normal this week, I'm going to blame Mike because he's not here yet, so he can't defend himself. So anytime we go off topic, we can all just go, Mike, and we'll be back on topic. That'd be perfect. Yeah.
Even when he is here, we can all blame him.
Yeah, but once we start blaming him, like it's super easy to defend yourself from, accusations that you know. But if we just go, Mike, he doesn't know why we're yelling at him. He was just like, what? He's like, you know. Just confuse the hell out of him. We love you, Mike. You're the cleric. We need you. Otherwise, I don't have to try to kill the party. I can just do it.
Dirty boys.
Yeah, to actually talk about the game. These guys have been in Alanduil, which is the capital of the Verdant Empire, which is basically the Feywild. And they had a shopping episode, and then last week they started trying to figure out a little bit more about their situation and what they can and can't do here. And they went about it a couple different ways. You had Willow and Fade going the more kind of intellectual route of let's go to the library and find out how this all started. And they were able to find out a little bit, but eventually they came to kind of a wall where the information was just missing. And they found out that that particular information was guarded by the temples because it had pretty significant religious things in it. And so they had kind of a weird encounter with someone from the temple to the Dark Lady, and were given a book that describes the Chosen War, which happened a few thousand years before now, and was a pivotal point in history that they have never heard about because the Eladrin scrubbed all history dating back further than a couple hundred years and rewrote most of that history. Avok and Kata went another way where they were more looking for more advantages and things that they could find. And while they weren't able to find the exact items they were looking for, they did get a better idea of what was going on as far as the war effort, and they got kind of a little bit of a sobering conversation with the head of the garrison in the Alanduil, and basically kind of found out that the war itself is not going well for anyone, and they were offered kind of an open invitation to anytime they want work. This guy has work for them, but that wasn't really what Avok or Kata were looking for, and so they decided to start heading back, and that's where we ended it last time. So, due to the fact that Mike is probably going to be another 20-ish minutes or so, but before he's able to get here, we're going to start off with Avok and Kata, and then switch over to Willow and Fade, hopefully when Mike gets here. Otherwise, Willow, you will just find that Fade is remarkably quiet for a little while.
It's unfortunate he's the one who has to read the book.
Yeah. Well, you have the comprehend languages thing, right?
But you told me that wouldn't work on this book.
Oh, yeah. Well...
Unless you retcon that, which I can do.
No, it'll basically be he reads it to you.
Fair enough.
And by he reads it to you, I tell you what's in it.
Sure.
Going back to Avok and Kata, again, you guys were in the kind of military district. You were escorted back to the teleportation spire that you guys had entered from, because the garrison district itself is heavily controlled and run by the military, and so civilians aren't really allowed to just walk around there. When you got back, your porter was waiting for you, and basically asked you guys where you wanted to go next, or if there was anything he could help you find, seeing as you came back empty-handed, and he could kind of tell, because Avok's not the greatest at hiding his displeasure, that you seemed less than thrilled.
Yeah.
I did remember that there was something still at the shop that we stopped by yesterday that we could pick up now, right?
I believe so. I know it's a magic item. Remind me what it was? I've forgotten.
The alchemy jug.
Oh, yes. So if you guys want to head back over to kind of the merchant district, you can. The porter can take you there. You guys aren't quite to the point where you could really get anywhere in the city by yourselves. It's still a little bit too vast and complicated for you guys to navigate on your own. But you have your porter, so no issues.
You love a porter. Alright, so yeah, I guess while we're walking to pick up the alchemy jug, Havok is just going to converse with Kata.
How much was that?
Oh, you're going to have to... As Sona, I'm having a hard time remembering yesterday, so...
I'm sorry.
I believe you guys prepaid for it.
Yeah.
So...
like a percent of that, or all of it?
I want to say we put a down payment on both the jug and the scimitar, and you just went off whatever was in the...
Yeah, I think it was... You we'll figure out the exact total a little bit later. I'll have to actually watch the video, or Mike might have written it down, because he takes really good notes. As for right now, let's just assume that you had enough money. I think it was the... I don't think it was very expensive. Like, it was like 500 gold or something like that. Maybe less.
Well,
somewhere between 2 and 500 gold. It wasn't an exorbitant amount of money.
We'll figure that out later. It was commissioned, so money was not already taken.
So yeah, you have the money for it, so that's fine.
I believe the jug is in one shop, in the scimitar we're getting a nurse.
Nope, same one.
Oh, same one? It's the same guy?
Yeah.
Yep.
Which guy?
The guy who did not like you.
Oh. Was
The
it
second,
the
wasn't
same
this...
guy? Yeah, it was the second shop we stopped by. The one I ordered my scimitar from.
I thought the second shop specialized more in clothing than...
Yes, but he was ordering a scimitar just for Kata.
Right.
And also the jug.
Okay.
Because, well, I don't know if Avok knew about the jug, because technically Fade bought it for him, but...
Oh, right.
Still.
Yeah, he kind of stormed off before we...
but you knew about it, Kata.
Decided to pay for it.
So,
okay.
Yeah, you guys are in there, and this same kind of snooty shopkeeper is in there, and when he sees you, he smiles very politely and goes into the back and comes out with a package. Basically two things wrapped in cloth. One of them slightly larger than the other, and so the first one he kind of opens up, and you have the alchemy jug there, and then the second one obviously is much longer, and he unwraps, since it's very very intricately designed scimitar. Has a very kind of elegant curve to the handle itself. It's very ergonometric. The scabbard and hilt both have what look to be a gold inlay in them, just to make them look a little bit fancier. And as you inspect the blade is polished to a shine, to the point that you can see yourself in it, and the edge is incredibly sharp. So really nice, solid scimitar. And then the alchemy jug looks surprisingly kind of dull. Like, you can see that the owner had tried to make it look fancy, and he just really couldn't. Like, it's a clay pot that's magic, and he seems slightly, like, every time he looks at it, he seems slightly irked. Like, he's really proud of the scimitar, and he shows it to Yukata, and he's like, well, here, try putting it on your belt. Let's see how it looks with the whole ensemble. And it's perfectly balanced and everything like that. And he's very, very pleased in showing it off. And he's like, oh, yes, and here's your jug of mystery.
I turn to Evok and say, we feel sorry that you didn't, get what you wanted yesterday, so we buy this for you.
Avok takes the jug. Thank you. What does it do?
Do I remember the specifics at all, or?
I don't think you would, because I don't think you were in the room when I described it. But the owner goes, it's a jug of alchemy. You tell it what to fill itself with, and it will create up to a gallon of certain substances. Let me show you. And he kind of takes the jug and he goes, water, and then just starts pouring water out of it. And he sits there and goes, ale. And he pours out ale. There are many things it can make. I just assumed that would be the one that was most interesting to you.
This can do that all the time.
Well, it can create a gallon of something once it up to a gallon a day. So
4 gallons for beer, to be exact.
4 gallons. There's various rules and here's the instruction manual. Like, you really need more beer.
He doesn't have to pay for it.
It also makes mayonnaise.
That'll be a fun discovery when we get to that. Anyways.
Your sandwiches will never be boring again.
And yet I don't like
You're smarter than Grog.
I'm not a fan of mayonnaise either.
Anywho, so yeah. Okay. Yeah. Awesome. Let's go, Kata. I'm thirsty.
Yes, please wait until you're out of the chunk. Thank goodness. And then he goes back to being an annoying shopkeeper that's not nearly as cool as the other shopkeeper I made.
Okay. Well, excuse me, I just need to... okay, so, beer.
And it's going, because it's not really shaped well for drinking directly out of, it's going down the sides of his cheeks and it's getting on his shirt, or lack thereof.
It's tattered.
It's not great beer, but it's not bad.
I've had better, but you know what?
You're not paying for it.
I have an unlimited supply of beer.
Some.
Want some? Would you like some beer? Yes, no, maybe so. Okay, more for me. Look. Okay, that actually feels a little better. Anywho,
Want to go back and decide on next plan of action?
yeah, I guess we should probably hop along to the library and see what the two, those two are up to. I'm sure it's something. No, I seriously think Willow and Faye, there's a thing going on, because, Willow came out of Faye's room, and I didn't really think much of it, but I'm like, oh.
What are you talking about?
Another locked in the room together and no one can enter? Yeah.
Ba-da-da, ba-da-da, ba-da-dum.
Thank you, DM. Okay. Yeah, pretty much, like, I don't know, there could be, like, something, what's the words I'm looking for? They could be lovebirds, I don't know.
Ooh?
This being the first you've heard of this, Gata, because all you know is that Willow, apparently got up earlier than you did and came in, I think she was at the table when you woke up and got out of bed. So, you were unaware that she didn't spend last night in her own bed.
Okay. Library, please.
Right? So the porter takes you back to the teleportation spire, and you guys get that familiar feeling, and then he takes you to, again, this giant library, and you are met there and you notice something slightly different than the last time you were here. The last time you were here, you saw a few librarians kind of wandering around, and that one librarian kind of came up to you, and that's when you guys kind of ditched. This time, though, the librarian you saw the last time you were here is sitting at a desk, but he's flanked by what looks like half a dozen people in armor and robes. And all of them have the symbol of the Dark Lady on them. And they're just kind of standing there staring at you guys as you come in.
What's up, guys? Have you... oh, hey, I've seen that symbol before. Kind of looks like my axe thing here, right? Actually, have you guys met my friend Fate? He's somewhere in the library. I've had a rough day. I'm trying to make the most of it. Go fuck yourselves.
The 6 clerics kind of turn to the librarian, and he gets up. He's like, well, currently your friend is in a different portion of the library, and he's not able to really be disturbed at this particular moment in time. But I would be more than welcome to take you maybe to our picture book section, which you would probably really enjoy.
How long till they done?
I want to incite that. I so want to incite that.
Go for it. Roll me an insight check.
Okay, just for fun, I roll 2.
Okay.
Wow, that was actually really good. 23.
Well, Avok, you kind of get that he was insulting you with that. Katza, you notice the insult for what it is, but you also notice that he seems to be using the insult to kind of mask his own kind of uneasiness. Like, he's not really afraid. He's more just uncomfortable, and it seems to be the 6 clerics that are standing there that are making him uncomfortable.
Anyways, Avok goes up to the guy and just gets a little close to his face. I can read, just so you know.
Oh, that's wonderful. Then I could take you to we have a lovely section on tactics and warfare. Perhaps you could study up and perhaps improve some of your skills, or we have a lovely section on botany and plant life and things like that. If the little one would like to learn more about the natural world and the things in it, we even have an entire wing dedicated to the various animals found in the Feywild and the elemental planes, all the way. There's a few books actually that chronicle some of the creatures found on the prime material planes, some on the Shadowfell, and even a few creatures from the 7 heavens and the 7 hells. Bless you.
Thank you.
So where would you like me to take you?
Well, I'm not really in the reading mood, so I don't mind waiting here. Yeah.
Well, I'll look at the animal books, but how long you think it until they done what they doing?
And you see the librarian start to speak, and then one of the clerics who's carrying a relatively large maul very decorative, but very heavy and obviously able to be used, kind of slams it down and says, "They will be finished when they are finished."
Yes, sir.
That's cute.
And he kind of just looks you up and down, goes, "Yes, it is." And kind of just goes back to standing there.
Okay.
Well, if you'd like to see all of our fauna and animal books and things like that, just follow me. We have to teleport to another wing of the library. You are welcome to join us, oh large muscled one with an axe. You may find some things interesting there as well, since you can read and everything.
I'll pass. Just gonna wait here with my new friends here. Sup, dudes?
They don't seem to respond this time. Well, let's go then. And Kata, he leads you away to a smaller teleportation circle and kind of gestures for you to stand on it. And when you do, you feel the familiar feeling of being teleported, and then you are in a completely different place, just rows upon rows of books. You don't see another soul, and then a couple seconds later, you hear behind you the man appear, and he leads you over to a little area with a table and some chairs, and he shows you where the various books are, and asks if there's anything in particular you wanted to look at. Are you looking for Feywild creatures, or?
Sure. Well, it sounds nice.
Yeah, all right. And he goes off and he finds you probably about 8 to 10 books he comes back with and just kind of puts them on. These are kind of the introductory books, some of the more common wildlife we find in the Feywild and the elemental kingdoms. If you'd like, I have a wide assortment of different creature types here. If you would like some more specific things, or if you find something in one of these books and you'd like more information, simply touch the rune on the end of any of the bookshelves and I shall return to you.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day. And he walks off. So while Avok is making new friends, and Kata is reading, we cut back.
As much as she can.
Yeah, which there's tons of stuff there. We cut back to Fade
She
and
might
Willow.
as well teach herself how.
Oh yeah, you don't read, do you? I just realized that. Saber-toothed tigers don't put a huge emphasis on literacy.
She has an intelligence of 8.
Well, you would have, you probably would have been taught your alphabet before.
Yeah,
so
true.
You know the very basics. You're probably going to struggle reading it, but
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not impossible. You'll just be there for a while. So we go back to Fade and Willow, and the cleric has just finished the conversation with Fade, kind of hinting at just the unique nature that Fade has, and he's just placed the book on the table in front of Fade, and has kind of just stepped back into one of the aisles of books and is just standing there watching you guys.
look at the book, I look at this guy, and look at Willow and say, I don't know what's in here, but I know that I have to read this. So whatever happens, like, don't get mad at him. This is my choice. And then I assume the worst and cast Bless on myself and Willow and then start reading the book.
Okay. As you go to open the book, it doesn't open. There is a lock on the book. However, as you kind of examine the lock, you're no expert at picking locks, but you do generally know how they work, and they generally require a keyhole that you can put a key in.
Sure.
This book does not have a keyhole on its lock.
Mm.
For all intents and purposes, it just looks like a piece of metal.
I think. Jesus, that's weird.
Yeah. No markings,
darkly.
no nothing, just a piece of metal. Keeping the
Can
book shut.
I whip out the old holy symbol and try touching it to the top of the cover?
Sure. As you take out your holy symbol and you touch it to the top of the cover. Yeah, it touches the cover.
Sure, it sure does. Is the guy? You said the guy recessed back into the stacks. Is he watching?
Yeah, no, he's just moved himself out of the way, so that because it's not a huge area, so he's still
I
there.
thought
He's
he
watching
left.
you. No, he's watching you.
Oh,
The cleric's watching you. The librarian is gone,
Yeah.
oh, sure with it.
but he seems like he's not letting that book out of his sight.
I look over at him, kind of put like a hand up. Really?
If you truly are who you say you are, and the Dark Lady wishes you to have this knowledge, you will know how to open the book. It is not my place to teach you that.
Oh, snap. New cantrip. I will cast Word of Radiance.
I'm not. Is that a Xanathar's cantrip?
Yeah.
You wanna read that for me? Because
Sure,
my
once
Xanathar is buried.
Once I pull it up, it's an attacking one. I'm going to try to attack the lock.
You're going to attack the
spell
book.
right now.
This is gonna
Yup.
go well.
Oh dear.
I can tell.
Is Rick gonna end up hurting himself again?
Probably. It's kind of what I do. All right.
So you have a backup character, right?
Nope. You utter a divine word. The burning radiance erupts from you. Each creature of your choice that you can see within range must succeed a Constitution saving throw or take 1d6 radiant damage. I will cast it on myself, hoping that the divine word itself will unlock the book.
If I'm reading this right, it's 3d6 given that we're level 11.
Yes.
That.
So it's an area of effect that radiates from you, right?
Each creature of my choice.
Within
Oh God.
Within
Please
5
don't
feet.
cut it.
So that's a
So-
cool kind
so I'm-
of a
No, 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 no,
I'm
no,
choosing
no.
myself.
blade spell. Interesting. And it doesn't say other than yourself.
Nope. Each creature of your choice that you can see within range. I can see my hand. I try to... Oh, screw it. I'll cast it on my gauntlet. And, like, infuse the one rune with the damaging spell.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. So you watch as Fade holds his holy symbol, and he speaks this word of power, and you watch the gauntlet itself kind of glow and change as one of the runes on the gauntlet starts to glow in this deep indigo light. Your gauntlet is empowered. The book is still closed.
Yep. And then I will channel divinity. I will basically focus my what's left of my connection, and I will think back on the vision that I haven't told anyone else about yet on that little thread.
Mm-hmm.
And I will just kind of try to tug on the thread just by like moving my gauntlet.
Okay. So, as you sit there and you kind of visualize that thread linking you to the Dark Lady, and you kind of tug on it, you feel it go taut and strain a little bit as you kind of tug on it. The book itself doesn't seem to react when, in your head you're kind of tugging on this thread.
Okay. I think Fade's first response to most things is to attack the problem. Mm-hmm. So I think I've played to the character up until now. So now I will pick up the book and study it and look for like a latch or a release or a inscripted word or something.
Make me an investigation check.
No, I don't.
Can I aid in that? Or is the other cleric not going to let me get near it?
He's not stopping you.
Okay, then I would definitely want to help.
So Willow, Fade, as you're kind of looking it over, Willow just kind of peeks up as I can just...
Yeah, take a look. Smarty pants.
Am I rolling or giving you advantage?
Roll that shit.
Fade just gives the book to you.
Sure. Investigation?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
You would have an advantage on it.
Natural 20.
So you fail. So looking at the book, it's really interesting to you because as far as you can tell, the kind of piece of metal is built because you've dealt with locked books and things like that before. That's how you secure research. In addition to codes and ciphers and things like that, a very simple way to keep research private is simply to put a lock on a book. And the interesting thing about this just piece of metal that's there is it's built identically to what a normal lock would be. There are hinges on it and everything, so it just looks like they forgot to put the keyhole in or anything. They just put a piece of metal there, but they put all the hinges and everything so that if it were to open without any seams or anything for it to open on, it would work like any other book lock. But after examining the book very, very closely, there's no text on the cover. It is an old leather-bound tome itself, to the point where you can actually see the binding thread in the spine. But yeah, it's locked without a lock. It's the weirdest thing you've ever seen. But there's nothing physical about it.
Can I look around and we're in the super nice section of the library with lots of cool information.
You're in the super old section of the library.
Well, let's look for some old magic then. And I'm going to look for I guess I can't query that guy right now. I'll ask the guy who brought this book to me, this tome. Ask him if there's you know what? I'm not even going to talk to him. He's being a dick. I will start looking around for old spell books, basically in an effort to find.
You're in a history section.
Yeah.
So the closest thing you're going to find, if you look hard enough, and you actually don't know this library well enough to really be able to find it, you might be able to find a history of magic somewhere in there. But as far as a
Okay.
spell book or anything, you're just in the wrong part of the library.
Okay.
Did you try the holy symbol on the medal itself?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you tried it on the cover.
Yeah,
No.
you.
I implied it. I guess I didn't say it out loud.
Okay.
I'm not going to pray to a book. So there's a latch with no keyhole. I'm just going to try to open the latch.
Okay. There's no latch. There's just a piece of metal. Like if you've ever seen a book with a lock on it, there's just a little piece of metal over where the opening is, and you open the lock, and then it flips open, and it's got the little piece of metal there. There's just no keyhole.
It's metal, huh?
It looks like it from Willow's very, very intricate examination. With a nat 20 you would have figured out. It looks like iron. It's not. It's been and this actually would be your specialty, I believe.
Yes.
It's been transmuted to look like iron, but it is electrum.
So it's magical.
Possibly. Electrum generally tends to be used in... It's known for its magic conductive properties.
Oh, I'm going to go find a shadow. I'm going to go find some darkness and take it by myself.
Easy enough. You wander 5 feet over into one of the aisles.
Yeah, I do that.
Okay.
And I think at that point I'm going to empower the Shadow Rune, my new one.
Okay.
And just kind of wave the gauntlet over where the keyhole should be.
Okay.
And
So
then
as you
kind
do
of
that,
grasp the whole book.
Again, as you do that, your mind, without you doing this intentionally, your mind kind of goes back to that visualization you had previously of the single thread, and your mind goes back and just, without you thinking of it, envisions now 2 threads connecting you to a source that you can't see. As you try to manipulate the threads, nothing happens. Or you tried to manipulate the thread before and nothing happened. This time you're not technically trying to manipulate the thread, because this visualization isn't intentional. And this time you notice the cover of the lock itself, or the piece of metal itself, seems to shimmer slightly, almost as if like a light was passed over it or something. You're getting a reflection off of like a matte finish.
Mike doesn't know what to do. Can Fade think on the situation?
Sure. Roll me a religion check.
You'd think this was amazing, but it's just mediocre. 19.
19's pretty good. So kind of thinking back and thinking on what the cleric told you, specifically about if the Dark Lady wants you to read this, then you'll know how to open it. You
I guess I haven't asked her, huh?
Yeah, you start getting this idea of, well, maybe I'm not the one that has to open this book.
Gross. Okay. Well, didn't want to bother her. But I guess I'm going to pull out a little bit of incense that I have left from the failed ritual. Thanks, Willow. And and quick do a light. Even though this isn't a library, I know I'm still going to light it, and I'm going to
Books will
say
smell
a
like
prayer.
incense for like
Yep.
10 years.
I'm going to say a little prayer, and I'm going to say, if it is your will, I feel like I need as much information as I can to get to you. Will you allow this? Or can you help?
So, normally, since you started communicating with the Dark Lady and actually getting responses from her, it's a pretty extreme experience. Very out of body. You're teleported to a different place in your mind. This time, you just keep getting that vision of those two strings. You don't know why you keep fixating on this vision, but this time you watch as instead of you kind of like pulling the strings and trying to manipulate them, your hand just kind of rests there on top of the book. And you just see a subtle vibration start from beyond where you can see the string, and it just travels down the string into your hand, through your hand into the book. And then the latch, or the little piece of metal, just pops open. Like you'd unlocked it. Willow, as you're sitting there watching, you see his eyes kind of close, and he puts his hand there, and you see the runes on his gauntlet glow slightly brighter for a second. And you are very familiar with arcane magic, but you never really dealt with divine magic before. So you're kind of confused when you see the glow happen and then the lock kind of just pop off. And your first thought is to try and figure out, okay, how did that work? How did he affect the weave to do that? But Fade, you now have an open book in your hands.
I glare at the old cleric. Did he ever give me a name? I don't think I got a name from him. I didn't ask.
He didn't give one.
Okay. Then I will walk over to where Willow was, and is there a reading table nearby, I assume?
Yeah.
I sit down and say, don't know what's in here, but here we go. And I sit down and dig in.
As you open it up, Willow, I'm assuming you can't really hold your curiosity, and you're kind of
Not at all.
yeah. So you're kind of trying to read it with him as much as you can. And the first thing that you notice when he opens the book is the pages are pristine and blank. And Fade just keeps staring at them. Much longer than, like, you're a very inquisitive person. You stare at them longer than a normal person would. But eventually, it's a blank white page. There's not a whole lot to look at. And Fade is still staring at it. Very intently. And you start to kind of read his body language. You watch his eyes are moving across the page as if he's reading something. But there's nothing on the page.
She's just fascinated, realizing she can't read it, and so is just going to watch Fade. Just gauge reactions and try and figure it out that way.
So Fade, for you, it's blank as well. And as you sit there staring at it, and you notice Willow staring at you, and so you're staring at the page and she's staring at the page, and so you sit there and there's nothing there. But for whatever reason, your eyes are somewhat drawn to where normally the words would start. As you kind of stare there, you just kind of feel this compulsion to continue reading the line that isn't there. And when you get to the end of the line, without thinking, you jump down to the next line. there's nothing on the page. There's no way for you to really gauge where your eyes should go, but they go to a very specific spot. And just to kind of try and test yourself, you go back to the beginning and read this line that isn't there. And like you were reading a normal book, your vision just naturally goes to the next line. And you do this for about 5 or 6 lines, and you can't figure out why it is, or even what it is that you're reading, but something is there that you can't see, but somehow you can. And as you keep doing this over and over again and trying to figure out what in the world is happening, you start getting to the end of the page. And so you turn the page. And again, you're brought to where you think the words would normally be, and you follow along in the book like you're reading. And you start reading a little bit faster, this nothing that you're reading. And so you turn the next page. You start reading even faster, and you turn the next page. And the next page. And the next page. And you're reading much faster than you normally could read any book, but you're getting every single line. And Willow, you're watching his eyes just move faster and faster and faster on this invisible ink or whatever it is. And he keeps turning pages faster and faster. And as you both are looking at this, you don't realize that the room that you're in is starting to get fuzzier and fuzzier. And the bookshelves start to just kind of blur and then fade into nothingness. And then it's just you guys and the table and the book. And this is, Willow, where you start realizing something's up, because you're not mesmerized with this book. And so you're looking around and you are in darkness other than this table, the book, Fade, and the cleric. And as Fade continues flipping through this book, and he's flipping the pages so quickly, and it wasn't a huge book. You know, I mean, it was, it's a decent-sized book, but we're not talking like, the dictionary or anything here. You're afraid he's eventually going to run out of pages, and you don't know what's going to happen when he stops flipping. Like, the flipping he's done so far has made the room melt away. So you don't know what's going to happen when he runs out of pages. But as you look, as he's flipping more, he's flipping new pages. He's never going backwards or anything. He keeps flipping pages. But he's gotten probably about a quarter of an inch into the book. And the side that he's flipping to is not getting any bigger. And the side that he's flipping from is not getting any smaller. And you've actually messed around with books that actually have more pages than are visible, like, magically added pages and, similar properties to like portable holes or bags of holding, where they technically have more in them than they seem. But this is different. Like, you're not getting the feeling of magic from the book. You're not feeling that kind of it's bigger on the inside feeling that you normally get. And Fade is just flipping more and more and more and more. And suddenly, you're both kind of startled by the fact that the room or the area you're in lights up. And you're blinded for a second, because you're in complete darkness except for you three. And suddenly this light appears, and it takes you about half a minute to realize it's a sunrise. And you watch the sun rise, and you've seen a sunrise before. It's an amazing, beautiful event. But it's slow. And so the sun rises slowly at first and then gets faster and faster. and then goes all the way across the sky and sets, and then the moon rises and goes across the sky and sets, and the sun and the moon and the sun and the moon, and pretty soon you're dropping frames like crazy. Hold please. Gotta close some stuff out, so I stop dropping frames.
Well, this isn't terrifying or anything.
No, it's not terrifying at all. What are you talking
Living
about?
the creation.
I'm going to die to the book boss.
Hey, books, books are magical.
We're gonna travel through time.
Be careful,
Ewok and
man.
Couch have been waiting for days.
Suddenly hear butterfly in the sky. I can go twice as high. Take a look. It's in a book. A reading rainbow. And now I get copyright strikes. So as you keep going, suddenly you kind of sense yourself kind of rising and kind of being taken out of the world that you've just been kind of sitting on, watching time pass much faster than it should be. And you're now kind of outside of the world looking in as Fade is just flipping through this book. And both of you
Character.
start seeing this kind of formless void take shape. And you see this kind of blue orb suspended in nothingness. And slowly you see shapes form on the orb. And there's a section of it that looks very familiar to you, seeing as you've studied quite a few maps of the Kael Isles before. And you see the Kael Isles kind of appear there. And you can see to the east a large circular continent. And to the north you see a large kind of oblong continent, and then to the west there is... Really, I had no issues last week, and now I'm just dropping frames. To the west you can see kind of another string of kind of smaller continents with kind of island continents close to each other, and then to the south this kind of barren tundra wasteland. And as you're sitting there, you can't understand how you can see things so clearly from so far away, but you start seeing people in different races kind of pop up in the Kael Isles, in the other lands. You start seeing them kind of appear there. And as that happens, you see more and more people appear, and you start seeing the world start to kind of form an order and things like that. And you start seeing from this order very large shapes appearing behind this planet. And they're vaguely humanoid in shape, but they're large enough that they could hold the planet in two hands, kind of like a large grapefruit. And each one is a different color. There's a bright yellow, there's an orange, there's a deep indigo. And as more and more time passes, these kind of generic rainbow forms start to take on characteristics. The deep indigo one starts to form a hood, starts to take on a more feminine shape. The bright yellow one, you see the shoulders broaden and what looks like armor start to form. And the other ones take various other shapes. Purple one hunches over, you see kind of a long beard grow. And as you guys are watching this, you also notice Oh, hold please. I have to remember a number, and numbers are hard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
The number of extra life quarters.
You see among the beings down there, and they're not really fully fleshed out. Like, you don't see individual. They're just kind of humanoid shapes running around there that you can tell are humans and dwarves and elves and every other race you can think of, gnomes, halflings. Every so often you'll see one of them just kind of glow with this bright white light surrounding them. And when one of these glows, you see there's basically 9 of these glowing figures spread out across the globe. And one of the lights gets really, really bright. One of these shapes becomes slightly more defined. And eventually, after time has passed, all of these colorful shapes have been completely defined. Oh, please. I really had all this stuff done, and then I forgot all of it. I swear. So you have all of these kind of rainbow shapes defined, and there's a specific number of them that I can't remember. It's numbers with me. That's what it is. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. There's 9 of them.
You've probably done too much of it in college.
Yeah,
Well,
and so
you're
there's
online
9
classes.
of these colored giant figures. Why do you keep moving there? I don't want you there.
Can't help it.
So what ends up happening is these figures of these giant figures of color have become really, really well defined. None of them have faces that you can see, but everything else about them has become very, very well defined. And the only thing that kind of separates them from a normal humanoid is that their skin is completely this one color. And you see them kind of communicating with each other, but you can't really hear what they're saying. And then you see them start becoming a little bit more aggressive in their interactions and things like that. And finally, the golden one just reaches a finger down and touches one of the beings. And the being starts to glow the same kind of golden color as that figure. And you see them argue for a while, and while they're doing that, this little gold figure is traveling around, and you see it go up to one of the white glowing figures, and then the white glowing figure just kind of snuffs out. Then it goes up to another one, and that one gets snuffed out. And you see the other figures of color, the giants, kind of reacting, and they all start just reaching down, and each one touches a different being down there. And you start seeing the beings themselves kind of forming 2 different groups. One at the lead is the golden light, and at the lead of the other one is the deep indigo light. And by this point, all the little beings with white light have kind of blinked out of existence. And you start watching as each one of the beings that have been touched by one of the gods, you guys have figured that one out now, they start changing things. Like, you start seeing them walking around, and while the topography doesn't change, you see things happening, and you'll see vast amounts of beings just blink out of existence, or other times you'll see other ones where vast amount of beings will start changing and morphing and turning into something else. And you'll see other times where some just make plant life grow immensely quickly, and other times where just deserts are formed out of verdant green areas. Deserts are instantly formed, and you see these beings touched by the gods just going around and changing how things work. And one group of them seems to be actively trying to change things, while the other one seems to be kind of cleaning up after them, and eventually starts getting into a point where they're they get to a point where they're actively, instead of the second group kind of cleaning up the messes the first group leaves, they're now actively trying to stop the first group. And at this point, you start hearing a voice kind of narrate that, Fade, you have heard something similar to this before, though not quite as grandiose. Sounds somewhat similar to the Dark Lady when she speaks to you. Willow, you've never heard a voice so clear, crystal clear and beautiful. And the cleric just seems to sit there with his head bowed as all this is happening. And so the narration speaks of two groups of chosen. Mentions how the guiding beacon made the decision to shape the fate of the mortal races directly by having a direct representative of his will and of his power amongst the people, his chosen, and started doing things to ensure that his specific will and his specific plans for the world would go forward, while the other gods were kind of debating the ethics of this, whether they should simply stick to their spheres of influence and what they're supposed to do, or if they should be actively controlling how the mortal races grow. And while they were kind of arguing that, the Guiding Beacon's champion was making changes and destroying things, and so the rest of the gods all started making chosen, with them kind of breaking into two camps. The first camp, led by the Guiding Beacon, felt that the mortal races couldn't govern themselves. They had waged war on each other, they had done horrible things, they really couldn't be trusted, and at being deities, they needed worshippers in order to exist, and so this was simply the best of both worlds. They could get worshippers and ensure that the world worked the way that it was meant to, and the gods were much more intelligent, much had a much better view of the world as a whole, so they were in a much better position to control the fate of the world. And the other group of chosen was led by the chosen of the Dark Lady, who felt that it was the gods' place to manage their spheres of influence and keep kind of the laws of the world and of existence working the way they're supposed to. And this direct interference was detrimental to everybody. It wasn't their job to control the races. It was their job to ensure that the world kept working the way it was by, the guiding beacon ensuring that the sun rises every day, the Dark Lady ensuring that souls, when they ended, when their lives ended, went to the afterlife, and things like that. And so the Chosen War broke out between these two factions, fighting against each other, attempting as much as possible to stop the other one. And it ended up changing the world radically. Hundreds of thousands of people died. Hundreds of thousands more people came into existence out of nowhere from these Chosen, just using exorbitant amounts of power that the gods were just fueling through them. And it got to the point where the damage they were doing was starting to tear at the fabric of reality. The weave was starting to break down. The various planes of existence were starting to come out of alignment. There were rifts forming where the planes would bleed into the prime material plane, or go directly through the prime material plane into the Shadowfell, or into Tartarus or Elysium. And it all culminated in this massive battle at the top of the mountain where you guys found those ruins, where all the Chosen fought amongst each other and eventually ended up killing each other in this massive explosion of a war. And in the end, the Chosen were wiped out, and the gods kind of took a step back and let the world kind of heal itself as they went back to their duties of, making sure the nurturing gardener, making sure wildlife and plant life continued to thrive, and the gentle healer, making sure diseases didn't always result in the Dark Lady bringing them back and things like that, and going back to their roles. But every so often, one of the gods would get, from the guiding beacon's side, would get the idea that they needed to try and fix something because there was something that wasn't working, and would create another Chosen, and one of the other deities on the other side would have to create another Chosen to stop that one. And they always ended up, and this went on for thousands of years, much longer than the recorded history you have here, showing that the world itself is much, much older than even these Eladrin think it is. And so every time a Chosen was made, there was another Chosen that was created to stop it. And every time they both ended by basically killing each other. And Willow, as you're kind of taking this all in, you look back to see Fade is almost at the end of his book now. And he's starting to slow down, turning the pages. And eventually he gets to the last page, turns it, closes the book, and looks up at you, and you guys are back in the library.
Willow's looking at him very worried.
So, obviously that's a lot for Fate to take in. However, I've gotten a pretty good glimpse of this, at least one of these encounters before. And during that, the nurturing gardener was absent in the Chosen battle that I witnessed, or I kind of took part in a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
If it's always everyone's kind of wiped each other out every time. Just from what I read there, is that because there's a balance and someone is not participating?
Kind of.
Okay,
There's 9 deities that you're aware of. There
sure.
were nine colors. There were only ever groups of 4 versus groups of 4.
Right. Okay, that's what I thought. And then one other question:
Mhm.
the guiding beacon seemed to be the instigator, and every time he created a chosen, there was a reactionary force was chosen to block that.
Mhm.
Was that a consistent pattern? Like he was always the one to start?
It wasn't always the guiding beacon, but it was one of the people that kind of joined the guiding beacon.
Okay.
If you want the actual list, you have to give me a couple of seconds here.
I've got some of it, but yeah, I don't have all of them.
Did it look like it was always the same set? Like it was always 2 different
Yes.
sides, just somebody from each set. Okay. Okay.
And the interesting thing, I will assign colors to these later. Basically, the 4 that seem to always be on the side of we're the gods, we should be deciding how existence works, are the wise sage, the gentle healer, the guiding beacon, and the nurturing gardener. And on the other side is the raging dervish, the valiant warrior, the almighty magus, and the dark lady. And the 9th chosen, the one that doesn't seem to get into conflict and always, because it's always 4v4, but there's 9 chosen because
Cunning
there's 9
razor.
deities.
Cunning
The cunning rascal seems to hop sides in every encounter, and
Trina.
sometimes will, depending on, like during the first chosen war, which is what these guys refer to as the chosen war, the cunning rascals chosen kind of worked both sides and would join in specific battles. Ever since then, if a chosen of the cunning rascal appeared, generally it was kind of a coin flip as to whether they were going to help or detract from one side or the other.
Boy, kind of just straight up fear. Starting to get an idea of what he's signed up for. Fade just, I think, is probably like, so he speed read that book,
Mhm.
and I think
Without reading it.
Yeah, I think when the back cover closes, his hand is just kind of like shaking over it, and I see his hands probably being all full of blood. Like it was going too fast. There was no way his hands could take care of it. And like
Mhm.
just like
So you have paper cuts and
Yeah.
and your hands themselves are physically raw, like you've been actively working them. So the hands themselves are red, and you have little micro cuts and things on them in various places. You do notice that while the table itself has some blood on it, the book is still pristine. And as you're sitting there, kind of staring at your hands, and they're sore, you suddenly feel this hand on your shoulder, and you feel a kind of warmth flow from your shoulder into your hands, and you see the rawness start to fade away a little bit. You see the cuts start to knit themselves. You're familiar with cure wounds. You weren't quite expecting it, though.
Sure.
And the cleric casts cure wounds on you, and then kind of circles around, sits down next to you, and just kind of looks at you for a second and goes, "It's overwhelming, isn't it?" When I first discovered what the Chosen War was, what it meant for the world, who the Chosen were, I didn't sleep for a week. I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt no one could know what this really was. Because if they did, there will always be people who try to use power they can't understand or control to get what they want. And while the chosen may be quite literally chosen by the gods, they're still mortal. They're still able to be influenced like any mortal. So even those not chosen with this knowledge could use it to do terrible, terrible things. Do you understand why it is you and only you are allowed to know this information?
I guess we'll see if I really do.
Do you understand how important it is to keep this information to yourself?
I look over at Willow.
And she's just trying to gauge whether or not she should say something or not.
You've chosen to travel with her and put your trust in her. As a chosen of the Dark Lady, I must assume that you can choose your own companions.
I guess so.
However, knowing what you know now, I hope you will choose your companions carefully moving forward, and choose who gets this information carefully. I gave up my life and my name to serve the Dark Lady. If she has created a chosen, it is for a purpose, and therefore, as a servant of the Dark Lady, I must do what I can to ensure that her specific goals are met, which includes helping you in what ways I can. However, I also have an obligation to the world itself that the Dark Lady has shown many times over to care for immensely. So I will help you as long as the Dark Lady wills it. But if I feel that you are going in a direction that she doesn't want, I will bring the entirety of my power and those of my followers against you to ensure that what happened during the Chosen War never happens again. You may not have seen the exact effects, but hundreds of thousands of lives simply ending has an immense impact on the world. And creatures coming into existence from nothing, fully grown, can never fully exist, can never be content. In their war for control over something they should never have controlled, they created people with no purpose, that had no fate, no destiny. And being cursed with no purpose and no destiny is a fate I would wish on no one. The people that the people that continued from those lines of people that simply springed into existence to this day are, let's call them, troubled. There have been many attempts to exterminate every last member of their line, and it's never quite worked. So now that you know, what questions do you have for me?
Have any other chosen appeared?
You are the first chosen I have seen in my lifetime. And as of this summer, I will be 967 years old. The head cleric of the Dark Lady before me passed on this knowledge before he left. He had not seen a chosen in his lifetime either, and he lived to be in his 1200s, if I remember correctly. He was involved in a skirmish towards the beginning of the Elemental Wars that ended his life. He ended up saving over 1,000 men, but the cost of that was his life, which also gave me control of the temple.
Show me your temple. Take us there.
At this point in time, I do not believe it would be wise for you to enter our temple. At least, not the temple in Alandwil. There are countless Eladrin and other races that live here. There are spies everywhere, from every kingdom. And I fear what would happen if you were put into a place where the connection to the Dark Lady is as strong as it is, with people that cannot be trusted around. However, we have more secluded temples where it would be much safer for you to go if you wish to visit a temple. Ours is It's simply too open for us to be able to secure adequately. And while, yes, you are a chosen, you are a young chosen. It's obvious to me you have not come into even a fraction of your power. And you have probably found more than once that despite the fact that you are chosen, you are still very much mortal. And the killing of a chosen would be a feat that many would relish. Not to mention the fact that the Dark Lady does not create chosen on her own. She creates them to stop another chosen. So if you were to die before you meet the purpose of your choosing, there's no one to stop them. Do you have other questions for me?
Would it make sense for us to leave for a little while until I'm more ready?
The temple in
Empress.
Alanduil is simply not a place that I can secure for you. It
Would
is
it make
beyond
sense
my power.
for us to go into the field? The Empress requested help.
That is up to your discretion. You have a purpose. Being a chosen, you have a more direct purpose than really any other mortal. So if you feel your purpose is best accomplished by helping the Eternal Empress win her war, or wars in this particular case, then do that. If, however, you feel it could be better used somewhere else, then do that. I will do what I can to help. If you wish to try and commune with the Dark Lady, as I said, we are cut off from Elysium, where her home is. But the temples are a focus of her power, and while we have not had direct communication with her in over a millennia, you may have different luck being in a place consecrated directly to her. I can get you to a temple outside of Alanduil.
That's fine. I need to strengthen my resolve, and I know one of my friends, one of my chosen companions, the little one, was having the second thoughts about not helping with this war. Even now, with all this responsibility, you're telling me that I can't avoid. I'm still drawn to find a way to break down these barriers between the realms, and the only person I know that could help is possibly this Empress. She has the resources we need. So I won't tell you what we're going to do, but I need to speak with my friends.
We can bring them here if you prefer. I have ensured that we are very much alone and protected from any attempts at scrying or listening in that we don't want. My men have informed me that a very large human with a rather sunny disposition is waiting with them.
That
And
seems about right.
a very small human is looking at books involving animals. I can have them both brought here so you may discuss things with them.
If you would be so kind. And I have one request, not so much question at this time. I am not ashamed to be a follower of the Dark Lady, but if you are saying there are this many threats, this many spies, I don't want to brandish my symbol and draw undue attention. Do you have any...
The spies are not from the other temples. The spies are from the elemental kingdoms.
Fair enough, but to brandish who I am, if they know we're here.
As far as you being chosen, that knowledge ends with me and your companions. If you were to enter a temple consecrated to the Dark Lady, it becomes much more apparent that you are more than what you seem. So if you avoid the temples, to be honest, most people will avoid those who worship the Dark Lady.
And that might be a hindrance to what I want to do. Are there any other known rituals or ways to say prayers and show devotion here in this plane? I'm not from here.
Sorry.
That's okay. Take your time.
He looks at you and says, "Well, you can hide your allegiance to the Dark Lady without significant difficulty. As far as invoking her power, there really is invoking her power through her holy symbol is generally the most effective way to do it. I could get you a component pouch, but you would have to learn, well, and your friend here could probably help you with this. You would have to learn the more mechanical aspects of invoking these powers, and collect the various components, material components necessary to cast them without using your holy symbol. With her being as studied as she is in magic, she's probably relatively familiar with component-based casting. Beyond that, as much as we know the benevolent nature of the Dark Lady, most do not. My temple, while one of the largest in the Verdant Empire, is not blessed with wealth very often. The Eternal Empress prefers to pretend we don't exist, and most of the townsfolk only come by when a loved one is passed. So, unfortunately, I have no other items I could supply you with that would aid you. Beyond that, your chosen weapon is very powerful, and I would worry about concentrating too many magical items in the possession of one person. even with that person being a chosen.
I thank you for your wisdom.
I will return in a moment with your friends. I will leave the book with you in case you wish to reread any portion of it. This area will remain secure until I return. And with that, he walks away.
Is it obvious how I can close this book and relock it?
Not really. Again, there's no lock on it. It's a piece of metal.
Sure.
But, you haven't tried just click it. Because normally what would happen to relock it is you would just close the metal latch and it would click shut. You haven't tried that yet.
Okay, I try that.
It clicks shut just like a normal lock would, despite the fact that there is no locking mechanism there. Which, for Willow, is probably the most aggravating thing. Is that, even after examining it and everything, there is no explanation you can come up with as to how that book locks.
She really wants to try transmuting it, but is definitely not going to mess with it.
Oh yes, the magic book that just showed you.
Oh yeah, no, not going to mess with it.
Nothing wrong with casting spells on it. You should try disintegrate.
Destroy the world.
So as you guys are there, Avok, I'm assuming you haven't just been sitting there.
Oh no, I've been probably chatting up with the guys, and they're just staying. It's probably the British Royal Guards at the British Palace. Like that, I'm just like, so. Okay, you guys gotta let me know. What is it that you really do? Just yada 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 yada.
You're egging them on. Every so often you'll get a response from them. You even get to the point where you start asking questions that seem really sincere, and getting to the point where, like, one of them that you figured out is the most gullible will actually start kind of preaching towards you because you're asking questions like, no, I'm really interested. No, I really want to know. I want to serve the Dark Lady. No, seriously, I do. And he'll get 3 or 4 sentences into his pitch until you hear, ow! Oh. Then it just goes back to standing. So after you've had your fun with him, with these guys for probably a good half an hour, you see this very large barrel-chested man come out, and he wow, I think I just sweat into my eye and it burns like hell.
You alright?
Yeah, it happens every so often. You sweat and the sweat goes into your eye.
It's summer.
And salt water in your eye is not that much fun.
Ugh.
All right. So he comes forward and he just kind of he looks at his men, and you see them all kind of stand a little bit harder at attention. And he looks at you, and he goes, "Come with me. Fade wishes to speak with you."
Oh, it's about fucking time. How long has it been, guys? Like 20, 25 minutes, 30 minutes? Yeah, seriously, it's been a while.
You see them all just kind of standing there. The lead one goes, "Thank you, Father. Thank you so much." And you're led away. You guys teleport to another section of the library. And Kata, you hear very large metallic footsteps from one of the aisles of books. And you see this very large barrel-chested man with a tabard with the symbol of the Dark Lady on it step forward. And you can hear Avok behind him. And he goes, "Little one, Fade is requested to speak with you.
Okay.
Do not worry about the books. The librarians will take care of them.
Okay.
So he takes you back to the place where these guys all are, and you can see Willow looks a couple shades lighter than you remember seeing her last, but otherwise all there. And the cleric just kind of stands in the back in one of the book aisles, and there's 4 chairs around the table so you can all sit down.
Hey guys, how you been? You guys enjoy yourselves here? I'm sure you did. So,
Any luck?
okay. Learn anything?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Fade's like kind of like twerky right now. Like he super doesn't know what he needs to like. Should he be like timid and like in the background, or should he like flexing his holy symbol? He really doesn't know, so he's just kind of acting super awkward as soon as Avok gets in the room.
Which
So-
Avok you would
Should I-
instantly notice, because that's not how he normally acts.
Yeah, and I've been with him long enough to know that's not his thing either.
Mm-hmm. She has
It's like,
go ahead.
oh, wow. Oh, okay. 17.
What were you rolling?
Insight?
If he
Oh,
was,
insight.
yeah, that was for insight.
Oh yeah, even without an insight roll, like you can tell something definitely is bothering him. Though, even knowing him as well as you do, unless he tells you what it is, all you're going to know is that something's really bothering him.
If you don't want to tell us, you not have to, Fade.
Yeah, whatever happens between you two is your business, if you like.
It doesn't even register on Willow's face. She's still just imagining the creation of the world and doesn't know how to.
Mm-hmm. I just think back. I mean, Kata said it several times that she was unsure that we made the right choice with denying the Empress. So, if my did the cleric leave yet?
No, he's still there.
Okay, I need to know his name, so I introduce myself and say my name is Fade Moonbreeze, and I am, as far as I know, one of the last Eladrin from my plane. What is your name?
Hold on, dude. Moonbreeze? This is the first time.
Shut your mouth, bullface.
It's no point, jackass, but whatever.
As I said before, I gave up my life and my name in service to the Dark Lady. I am simply known as Father by my acolytes and the other members of the public. If you wish to call me anything, you may call me Servant of the Dark Lady, or simply Servant. For that is my purpose in life.
Okay. Well,
You have your
Continue.
traditions, I have mine. Let's leave it at that.
okay. So, Fade, you wanted us to talk about something. Obviously, there's something on your mind.
Yep. We, like I said, this morning or last night or whatever. I don't know. We need to be working towards a goal. The only quote unquote lead we have is the Eternal Empress knowing about those portals and having resources that she just can't share. I don't want to be part of another big war, but apparently I already am on a whole other level. So maybe helping the Verdant Empire finally, after I guess 600 years of strife, get a rest.
Closer to 1,000. However, this is the cleric kind of chiming in. If your goal is simply to return to the prime material plane, my first and foremost duty is always to the Dark Lady, and my second duty is to my Empress, whom I love and adore. However, this war has gone on for a millennium. I'm no longer convinced that my Empress is entirely in the right. Nor do I believe any of the other elemental kingdoms are truly altruistic in their goals. I believe the situation that you're in was very much manufactured to keep you from your purpose. Ending the war would technically free up resources that might be used to get you back on your path. Or it might be used to ensure that you never return to your path again. If your feeling is you don't wish to join in the Verdant Empire's struggle, I would encourage you to follow your feelings. I would also say that there are temples to the Dark Lady in all the elemental kingdoms as well. And while we all hold allegiance to our various kingdoms, we hold our allegiance to the Dark Lady above allegiance to worldly powers. So if you felt that one of the other elemental kingdoms might have your interests more in line, there's a possibility I could ensure that you were able to get to one of the temples outside of the Verdant Empire. Again, this is entirely your choice, Chosen.
In the past, do the Chosen usually appear on one particular plane, or do they appear in random places each time?
The prime material plane is the gods' chosen battlefield, generally. With them manifesting in Elysium and Tartarus, and with the elemental planes being as chaotic as they are, and even the Feywild being as wild as it is, generally the battles happen on the prime material plane. The Kael Isles has been a place of particular interest simply due to the fact that after the First Chosen War, a permanent link between the planes was created there, which sealed off the various rifts and other forms of planar travel. in an attempt to prevent interplanar war.
Okay. Clearly, stuff was said. I don't fucking know. But yeah, honestly, guys, I don't think we're gonna get anywhere sticking around here. Anyways, me and Kata spoke with the military people. Of course, no fucking luck. What else is new? But they're offering mercenary work if that's a thing we want to pursue. Just putting that out there.
I need to get out of this library. I can't. I need fresh air.
Light. Sunlight would be great.
Then may I have the book back?
I look at it, and I look at him. Is there anything else that you haven't shared with me yet?
Not from that book. You read it cover to cover.
Give the guy the book back so we can get the fuck out of here.
If you're asking, do I know more about the Dark Lady? Do I know more? I'm almost 1,000 years old. I've been serving the Dark Lady since I was in my 60s.
Then I think I will come talk to you again sometime soon. Where do you stay, or where can I find you, short of magical means?
Simply ask your concierge. I will come to you. Again, I do not believe it would be in your best interest to visit me at the temple, but that is where I reside.
Very good. Thank you.
Thank you. I must warn the rest of you. I have calling him chosen quite freely amongst you because you are the people that he has decided to share his life with. Do not mention that name or that word in public. It will attract unwanted attention.
I'm sorry.
Whatever. I don't even. I call them other names. I don't need to worry about that.
If you need anything. And he takes out a small stone. This stone will get you in contact with the closest member of our order, who can rally support for you relatively quickly. Our order is small, and our power is minuscule compared to some of the larger temples. But we will do what we can to help you.
I secure said stone in pouch.
It's a kind of a variation on ascending stone. Kind of puts out a all points bulletin kind of thing.
Let's call it the backup stone.
Yeah. Call it the emergency beacon.
The oh shit button.
Yeah.
Come to a close for aid.
It's the Jenga stone.
That works too.
So I look at Kata.
Jenga.
Look at Kata and Avok and say, Did you find a place to blow some steam or no?
Not yet.
The best thing that's happened to me is I got this.
Oh yeah, that.
Yeah, want some beer?
Yes.
No, I don't drink.
Yes. But let's get out of here and have some beer.
Awesome. Let's do that. Hey, priest guy, can you show us the way out?
Yes. And he takes you out, and the porter. I'm assuming you guys go back to the inn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys can meet in either one of your rooms, both the little waiting room in between your two bedrooms in either suite is large enough for you guys to speak in. And you've noticed, Willow would have noticed that when the doors close and you lock them, there are anti-scrying spells built into the rooms.
Oh, boo, that exists.
Just, a way for more privacy for the guests. Again, you're in a highly magic city. So
Anyways,
it basically it ensures that you guys can have conversations that remain private.
All right, so Avok grabs a few steins and pretty much sets them at a table. Beer. Pours into them.
Okay.
Okay, so what the fuck are we doing?
Willow immediately takes one, downs about half of it, and then puts it down.
No. Willow, I'm so sorry.
You're less than pleased with the ale because while Avok
Well, here's the
is
thing.
less picky about with you being a mixologist,
Sure,
yeah,
but it doesn't matter at this point.
it has
It's
an
been a
alcohol
day.
content.
I'm fully aware that I'm drinking Coors Light.
I reach into my pocket and realize that I didn't give that shopkeeper that we ordered this from the note that I wanted to, which was the word beer actually activates the mayo. That was going to be the joke, but I got to give it to him. So I looked dejected again.
If you had told me, I probably would have forgotten, to be blunt, but
It's all good. How's the beer? Son of a... That was expensive.
It's not that great, but you know what? Beer's beer. I'm fine.
it does come out chilled.
So, God, it is legitimately Coors Light. Good grief.
I thought cold beer is how you're supposed to drink it. I'm not a beer drinker, so
Neither am I.
my brother's not a beer drinker. My brother is a beer connoisseur.
Mm.
And because he's really into beer, and I've tried tried to get him to get me into beer, and I just can't. I've tried so many different kinds of beers and craft beers and artisan and all this crazy weird stuff, and he can go on for hours about hops and body and I've never found a beer I like.
It's okay.
Wine, on the other hand, I'm good with.
So, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, guys. What are we thinking here? I mean,
Willow's kind of moving around a little bit and isn't really sitting still. Tries to walk around a little bit and just kind of looks at you guys and looks at Fade. Not sure if he's going to start talking. Do I get the idea that he's going to?
should me and Kato leave the room?
No. Why?
For what?
I love it. Both of you are like, no, why?
Never mind.
I just get this vision of you're both kind of pacing and you giving each other knowing looks and stuff like that. And then Avok says this, and you both just at the same time turn. Why?
Yep. It's good. So does Fade look like he's going to start telling them what happened, or?
Yeah, you still haven't told them what you saw.
I don't know if I should. I wasn't going to tell Willow that much, but then she saw pretty much everything. So, guess there's that.
Yeah, that DM came up with a pretty cool way to just give you an info dump.
I think
You should totally get a raise.
No, Fade's all jacked up right now. Like, brain is kind of not working. Like, I'm skipping a beat. If you can process it better. I just told Avok that I think we need to
We might be too
readjust.
a little lacking intelligence to really.
Well, I mean, they could. I mean, it's a story. They don't have to tell you the exact mechanics of everything, but they could.
No.
If they want to, they can convey the basic idea of, what the Chosen War was and what it means.
Okay.
So
You don't have to be Einstein to understand, war.
Avok, the mountain. Remember the mountain where we found those shards of the thing, and they moved, and there was all the writing that you knew or something. Remember that?
Yeah, it was that was work writing.
So yeah, that the reason those shards were there is because the old me died there, and that's probably going to happen to me at some point. So like, I don't want to stand around right now. I need to do something.
we're gonna try and make that not happen.
Well, it's going to happen. It's been happening forever. There's nothing I can do about it.
I'm confused.
I think despair spiral kicks in, and they just kind of like, fuck. I think he's gonna misty step like outside or something through a window.
Okay.
When did
You're
you
on the second floor.
Fuck it. Well, no. We're in our common room. I'll just go into my room. I'll bamf through the keyhole into my room.
All right, so right before you, I was like, so wait, when did you die? Oh, what the fuck? Come on.
So he's not being clear. I'm sorry. It was a weird experience. We didn't read the book. The book kind of happened around. I don't know how it happened. It's very confusing. The point being, the gods pick people, apparently, like Fade. He's chosen? I heard the word. Yeah, typically...
I'm kind of familiar with this sort of, because I was there when he got a hammer for his weapon, and this whole chosen bullshit. So...
Okay, well, so apparently it's been happening for a very long time, and every time it happens, there's a big war, and everybody kills everybody, and all the chosen die. And,
Wonderful.
typically when the Dark Lady picks a chosen, it's not the first one. It's in response to something. So there might be another chosen out there somewhere, and they might want to kill Fade.
Oh.
And there might be more than that. I don't know.
So there's someone else like Fade who wants to kill Fade.
Possibly, but they might not know about Fade's existence, but they might. It's very unclear. I don't know what to do. We should do something.
This is why I don't fuck with gods.
You just hear screaming from the other room. I'm okay.
Hey,
Fade is
what was
having
that
an
tournament again?
existential crisis.
Tournament? Oh, fuck. DM, when was that tournament?
I think you had like a week. It was like at the end of the week or something like that.
Okay. If I'm...
But in order to qualify for it, you have to... there's a qualification match that you have to go through. That would have to be done in the next day or so here.
Okay. Let's see. I believe the tournament is at the end of, or like end a bunch of days later, not too long. However, hang on, didn't I? Oh, right. Okay, we need to qualify.
Yes,
like
that sounds
a
good.
day.
Okay.
So
Lily
you guys
goes
want to
over
do that?
and knocks on Fade's door, and then without even waiting, just opens the door. We're gonna go fight some things. We need to get out of here.
Okay, fine. I'll bear it out.
God, Mom!
Hey, stop jerking around.
I need my personal space.
And then Fade comes out Kramer style and like slides into the room. What? Where are we
Hey,
going?
Jerry.
We're gonna go fight something. Well, we're gonna go qualify to fight something. So
Okay, great.
Now, the tournament itself is an individual tournament.
Ugh.
Oh, I'm gonna kick your ass.
You can
Just,
all
you know.
enter, but you will be. You may eventually end up fighting each other.
Oh yes, please. Yes, please.
Okay, here's what I want to do. I want us to go there thinking that we can enter as a group, but we enter individually. It's just like,
Okay.
yeah, I want to.
Well, unfortunately, that is actually where we are going to end the show for tonight. So I do want to thank my amazing cast. For any of you guys watching, thank you so much for watching. If you missed any of the episode, I upload all the episodes to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/trainerjody. I try to upload them over the weekend. You can also watch the video on demand here. It's generally on my... I don't save them on my Twitch channel. They're only here for about a week. Then it's the YouTube channel. So please check it out there. If you'd like to support me in being able to do this and possibly being able to run even more games, feel free to subscribe to my Twitch channel, or you can head over to patreon.com/trainerjody. And you can actually pledge to support me over there. And I may be right now. It's kind of bare bones over there, but I am working on revamping it and coming up with some new stuff, new rewards and things like that, and becoming a little bit more active on YouTube and Twitch as much as my health will allow. So. Stay tuned for stuff like that, and obviously follow me on Twitter. I'm Trainer Jody everywhere. If you type Trainer Jody in, I believe I'm now the first hit you get on Google. It used to be this woman in like Southern California, I think it was, who was a physical trainer, was the first hit, and then I was number 2. I think I beat her out for number 1 though. So.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Trader Jody everywhere. Feel free to follow me. Otherwise, that's all for me today, and I will see you guys next time. All right. Bye bye.
Bye.